Eyjolf's kinsmen demanded his banishment from Haukadal. Erik then moved to the island of Oxney. He asked Thorgest to keep his Setstoker, inherited ornamented beams of significant mystical value, which his father had brought from Norway. When he had finished his new house, he went back to get them, but they could not be obtained. Erik then went to Bridesboldstad and took them. These are likely to have been Thorgest's Setstoker, although the sagas are unclear at this point. Thorgest gave chase, and in the ensuing fight, Erik slew both Thorgest's sons and a few other men. After this, each of them retained a considerable body of men with him at his home. Sturr gave Erik his support, as did also Eyjolf of Sviney, Thorbjorn, Vifil's son, and the sons of Thorbrand of Alptafirth, while Thorgest was backed by the sons of Thord the Yeller and Thorgeir of Hitterdal, Asklag of Langendal, and his son Elugi. The dispute was resolved at an assembly, the Thing, with the result that Erik was outlawed for 3 years. Even though popular history credits Erik as the first person to discover Greenland, the Icelandic sagas suggest that earlier Norsemen discovered and tried to settle it before him. Tradition credits Gunnbjorn Ulfsson, also known as Gunnbjorn Ulf Krakusson, with the first sighting of the landmass. Nearly a century before Erik, strong winds had driven Gunnbjorn toward a land he called Gunnbjarnarsker, Gunnbjorn's Skerries. But the accidental nature of Gunnbjorn's discovery has led to his neglect in the history of Greenland. After Gunnbjorn, Snæbjorn Galti had also visited Greenland. According to records from the time, Galti headed the first Norse attempt to colonize Greenland, which ended in disaster. Erik the Red was the first permanent European settler. In this context, about 982, Erik sailed to a somewhat mysterious and little-known land. He rounded the southern tip of the island, later known as Cape Farewell, and sailed up the western coast. He eventually reached a part of the coast that, for the most part, seemed ice-free and consequently had conditions similar to those of Iceland that promised growth and future prosperity. According to the saga of Erik the Red, he spent his 3 years of exile exploring this land. The first winter he spent on the island of Eriksay. The second winter he passed in Erikshamar, close to Avarsnippa. In the final summer, he explored as far north as Snæfell and into Hrafnsfjord. Iceland in order to lure potential settlers. He explained people would be attracted to go there if it had a favorable name. He knew that the success of any settlement in Greenland would need the support of as many people as possible. His salesmanship proved successful, as many people, especially those Vikings living on poor land in Iceland, and those that had suffered a recent famine, became convinced that Greenland held great opportunity. After spending the winter in Iceland, Erik returned to Greenland. In 985, with a large number of colonists, and established 2 colonies on its southwest coast. The eastern settlement in the modern-day Qaqortoq and the western settlement close to present-day Nuuk. Eventually, a middle settlement grew, but many people suggest it formed part of the western settlement. The eastern and western settlements, both established on the southwest coast, proved the only 2 areas suitable for farming. During the summers, when the weather favored travel more, each settlement would send an army of men to hunt in Disco Bay, above the Arctic Circle, for food and other valuable commodities, such as seals used for rope, ivory from walrus tusks, and beached whales. In Iceland, Erik built the estate Bradalio near present-day Narsarwag. He had the title of paramount chieftain of Greenland and became both greatly respected and wealthy. The settlement venture involved 25 ships, 14 of which made the journey successfully, and of the other 11, some turned back while others disappeared at sea. The settlement flourished, growing to 5,000 inhabitants spread over a considerable area along Erik's Ford and neighboring fjords. Groups of immigrants escaping overcrowding in Iceland joined the original party. However, one group of immigrants, which arrived in 1002, brought with it an epidemic that ravaged the colony, killing many of its leading citizens, including Erik himself. Nevertheless, the colony rebounded and survived until the Little Ice Age made the land marginal for European lifestyles in the 15th century. Shortly before Christopher Columbus's voyage